A guy in Milford who wasn't allowed to touch a knife the first year working in the meat department. Today he owns his own shop and was named the 2024 Entrepreneur of the Year for this area. A few streets over, there's a restoration company that started in 1954 cleaning carpets and furniture. And now it sends crews to hurricanes and floods across the country. There's a grocery store whose history in Milford goes back more than 60 years. And there's a bike shop where a guy fitting you for the bike actually has a degree in kinesiology and a background as a competitive college runner. All four of those businesses are right here in Milford, Iowa. This is Business Highlights in the Iowa Great Lakes, episode number 2. No rankings, no favorites, just the stories behind the businesses that help make the Iowa Great Lakes what it is. Let's start with the butcher. This is the perfect example of the American dream. Nate Kraft's career started at a grocery store up in Worthington, Minnesota, bagging groceries at 14 years old. His dad worked there too, and Nate kept drifting towards the meat department, even while he was just running a register. By 17, he had talked his way in, and they still wouldn't let him touch a knife for the whole first year. He started as a cleanup boy, swept floors, hauled trays, watched everything. He worked his way up from there, then spent the next several years gaining experience at a national meat processing company on the cut floor, as well as W2's Quality Meats in Worthington, Minnesota. Add all those years of experience together, and Nate had 17 years of experience across multiple parts of the meat industry, each one helping prepare him to eventually open up a meat market of his own. That's Krafty's before there was a Krafty's. When Nate was finally ready to open his own shop, he knew he wanted it located in the Iowa Great Lakes. And it just so happened he found the perfect spot on Highway 86 in Milford. Krafty's Meat Market opened in the old O'Shucks building on Highway 86 in Milford. The soft opening was April 17, 2021, with the chamber's official ribbon cutting a few weeks later in May. But the work behind Krafty's had started well before opening day. The LLC paperwork was filed back in October of 2020, about 6 months before anybody could walk through the doors and buy a bratwurst. So what people saw open in April of 2021 had already been months in the making. And once the doors opened, what he built turned out to be a lot more than a standard butcher counter. Gummy Bear, PB&J, Bloody Mary, and Grandma Shay's cheesy potatoes. And somehow we're talking about bratwurst? If you've driven past Krafty's, you've probably heard about the bratwurst before anything else. This isn't a hot and mild lineup. We're talking dozens of flavors with the names like Gummy Bear, Dragon Breath, Jamaican Jerk, PB&J, Bloody Mary, and one called Grandma Shay's Cheesy Potatoes. That's before you even get to the smokehouse case. They got jerky, summer sausage, ring bologna, natural casing wieners. Then there's the beef and seafood case, which is where it gets surprising for a small town meat market. Because they've got Wagyu beef, lobster tails, sea scallops, they even got walleye, and crab legs. It's a small town butcher shop stocked like nobody told it to stay small. That willingness to go bigger instead of staying safe is part of why Nate picked up some hardware in 2024. Nate Kraft received the award from the Iowa Lakes Corridor Development Corporation at its 13th annual Business Recognition Luncheon, a regional award handed out alongside honors for other established businesses across the area that night. A guy who started bagging groceries at 14 with his sights set on making it into the meat department now owns his own meat market. And in 2024, all that hard work came full circle when he was named the Entrepreneur of the Year. So whether you're looking for a steak for the grill, something for the smokehouse, or you just want to try one of those crazy brat flavors, stop in and see Nate at Krafty's Meat Market in Milford, Iowa. Now, just down the road is another Milford business with a story that goes back even further. ServiceMaster by Rice has been around since 1954, and nearly 70 years later, it's still in the same family. ServiceMaster by Rice didn't start as a disaster restoration company. Back in 1954, Austin Rice started the business doing carpet and furniture cleaning. That's it. But somewhere along the line, the carpet cleaning evolved into full-scale disaster restoration, handling fire, water, storm, and even mold damage. Today, they deploy nationally certified IICRC crews to step in during some of the worst days a homeowner can face, which makes it pretty incredible when you think about where it all started. Cleaning carpets and furniture back in 1954 and growing into the full-scale disaster restoration company that they are today. And even as the business changed, one thing stayed remarkably consistent: the family behind it. The business now has reached 3 generations of Rice family, continuing what Austin Rice Sr. started back in 1954. And with so many businesses like ServiceMaster becoming part of larger national operations, it's pretty rare to see one stay the same for 3 generations. The Milford office is part of that same family-run operation to this very day. And while their roots are right here in Iowa, the work they do today reaches a whole lot further than that. In 2021, ServiceMasters by Rice was selected to join the SRM National Network, which handles some of the ServiceMaster's largest commercial restoration jobs. And their experience goes well beyond Iowa. Their crews have worked on restoration projects in more than 27 countries, not states, countries. That same year, ServiceMaster by Rice also received the Marion E. Wade Award of Honor, the top annual honor given by ServiceMaster. Now, those accomplishments belong to the company as a whole, not just the Milford location, but the Milford office is part of that same operation, providing 24/7 emergency response when homes and businesses are hit by water, fire, or other disasters. But their work in Milford isn't only about showing up after something goes wrong. ServiceMaster by Rice also puts out information about things like faulty wiring and overload circuits, the kind of problems that can lead to a house fire before you ever see it coming. So they're not only there to help clean up the damage, they're also trying to help homeowners prevent some of it in the first place. And they stay involved right here in Milford too, including sponsoring the Milford Pioneer Days. And that actually gives us a pretty good connection to the next business. Quick thing before we get into that. If you don't know me, I'm John Ross with Real Estate Unlimited. Whether you're local or looking to move here, we help buyers and sellers every day throughout the Iowa Great Lakes. Whatever your next move looks like, let's make it happen together. And if you think there's a business you think I should cover in a future episode, drop it in the comments and I'll make sure I cover it. Alright, back to Milford. We just talked about a business that got its start back in 1954. And the next one has a long history in Milford too. Sunshine Foods is a family-owned grocery operation, and the story behind its Milford location goes back more than 60 years. This location on Okoboji Avenue has been serving Milford since 1963, when it was Buy Right Foods. Then in 2015, Sunshine Foods purchased the Milford location and took over the store. So Sunshine Foods has been here for more than a decade now. But there's been a grocery store at this location serving Milford for more than 60 years. And after all those years, having a full-service grocery store right here in town still matters. Sunshine Foods has fresh produce, a butcher counter, a full deli, and a bakery, all under one roof. And in a town this size, having all of that right here isn't something you take for granted. There are plenty of small towns where people have to drive somewhere else just to get their groceries. Milford still has that option right here on Okoboji Avenue. And even though Sunshine Foods has locations across the region, the Milford store is still part of a locally owned, family-owned grocery operation. And it's stocked with a couple things you might not expect. They have a Piccadilly station, which is basically a self-serve salad bar you'd expect to see in a much bigger store. And Smokin' Boji's Barbecue operates out of there too, serving smoked meats and appetizers a few days a week, along with online ordering and catering. So you might walk in for milk or for some bread, you might end up finding a whole lot more than you expected. So whether you're grabbing groceries for the week, picking something up from the deli, or stopping in for some barbecue, check out Sunshine Foods on Okoboji Avenue in Milford, Iowa. Now, just down the road is our last stop for this episode, and this one takes us from food to 2 wheels. The Okoboji Cyclist has become a pretty familiar name around the Iowa Great Lakes, but the business didn't actually start out with that name, or in Milford. The Okoboji Cyclist wasn't always called that, and it wasn't always in Milford. It used to be the Okoboji Expedition Company, sitting on the east side of West Okoboji along Highway 71. In 2021, the same year Krafty's opened up the road, the shop moved into Milford at 922 Okoboji Avenue. Today, it's a high-end specialty bike shop carrying road, mountain, gravel, and e-bikes. It's not just a general sporting goods store that just happens to sell bikes. And when you're buying a bike like that, having somebody who actually knows how to fit you to the bike can make a huge difference. That's where Taylor's background comes in. Taylor Huseman, the guy running the Okoboji Cyclist, has pretty interesting background. He graduated from the University of South Dakota with a degree in kinesiology, and he was also a competitive middle distance runner in college. He's also a certified body geometry fit mechanic, so he's actually trained to fit the bike to the person riding it. And when you combine that training with his background in kinesiology, you're getting a whole different level of knowledge than you normally would expect walking into a bike shop. And that expertise isn't the only thing you might not expect from a local bike shop. The Okoboji Cyclist runs a trade-in program through a company called the Pros Closet, and the shop describes it as working much like Kelley Blue Book, but for bikes. Bring in your old bike, they give you an actual market value, and that value converts straight into store credits towards something new. Instead of that old bike sitting in the garage for another 5 years, you're trading it in like you would a car. And their connection to cycling goes beyond what happens inside the shop. If you've heard of RegBride, the ride across the entire state of Iowa every summer, Milford was one of the overnight stops in 2025. And there's a RegBride branded training ride that ends specifically at the Okoboji Cyclist shop. So for a local bike shop in Milford, they're pretty well connected to one of the biggest cycling events in the state. And RegBride isn't the only way the Okoboji Cyclist gets people riding together. From Memorial Day through Labor Day, the Okoboji Cyclist hosts group rides right from Milford shop multiple times a week. Tuesday and Thursday evenings plus Saturday mornings. Riders meet up and they hit the road together. So they're not just selling bikes, they're giving people a way to get out, ride together, and be part of a local cycling community. When you put all 4 of these businesses together, that's really what the series is all about. Think about how different these 4 businesses are. A butcher who started bagging groceries at 14 and worked his way into owning his own meat market. A family restoration business that started in 1954 and grew into responding to disasters across the country. A grocery store that's been serving Milford under different names for more than 60 years. And a specialty bike shop that's becoming part of the cycling community right here in Iowa Great Lakes. 4 completely different businesses, but all 4 are part of what makes Milford what it is. And we've only scratched the surface. There are plenty more businesses throughout Milford and throughout the Iowa Great Lakes that I'll be highlighting in future episodes. And if you have a business you would like me to highlight in a future episode, drop it in the comments. Any business, anywhere in the Iowa Great Lakes. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or relocating to the Okoboji or the Iowa Great Lakes area, give me a call, send me a text, or shoot me an email. I'd love the opportunity to work with you. Whatever your next move looks like, let's make it happen together.